about these fantastic Tim Holtz Sticky Grid sheets. Now, I am guilty of kind of neglecting to use these because I didn't previously know exactly how useful they are, and it turns out they are incredibly useful. Now, I'm going to show you just a few different uses for them today, but I'm sure upon getting some of your own, you're going to be able to think of 1,000 different uses for them that I haven't even thought of. But we'll see. Let's see in the comments after this video has gone out, and I want to see what you guys at home come up with for using these sticky grid sheets. Now, there are 3 different uses for them that I'm going to show you today. One of them, do you know what? Let's just jump straight in and show how to use them. So, the first thing we are going to do in any make is we're going to stick it down to one of our cutting plates. Now, they're cut already to be the perfect size to stick down. They go through the machine. Now, as I peel this off, you're going to see exactly what they are. Now, they've got a grid on them. This grid comes in really handy because the sheets can be used to align letter dies, alphabet dies, or any die that you want to create a composition with. Now, they are adhesive on both sides, but the adhesive on them is not too sticky. It's perfect. And what I found, do you know what? I should probably stick it down before I peel that other side off. So there we are. Now, it's not going to leave a mark on your cutting pad or anything like that, because as I was just saying, the adhesive on there is perfect for if you place something down like this, then you can, even though it's stuck, you can still move it with your finger, and it moves incredibly slowly with just a slight touch. And that creates the opportunity to really go into detail and get that precision when you're layering up letter dies. Now, I'm going to create a make at the end of this video using these letter dies. This is the Tim Holtz alphanumeric die, bold, which is a really fantastic die, and I'm doing a blog about this die because I love it so much. But first, before we go into that, I'm going to show you some different uses. Now, I've pre-cut some different shades of some of our pink cards. So we've got that ballet slipper, we've got some primrose, we've got some cherry blossom. So we've just got all, I've tried to go from light to dark with our pinks there. Now, I've cut them all the same size, and that's important when we're using the sticky grids in this way, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to use them to create a sort of box frame here. Now, I'm taking some of my heart framelets. I'm taking 3 different sizes because we're going to create consecutive cut out hearts that are going to get smaller each time and create a bit of depth within these makes. So I will start with my lightest colour of card. Now, I'm going to position where I want my heart to be. I'm going to go at a sideways, a right angle there. I'm just going to position the heart there, like that. Now, that's not going to move. I can knock it about, and that's just going to create the opportunity for me to have that precision when we're lining these up. Now, because these are all the same size, I can measure using the grid on the sheet exactly where I'm going to put my pieces of card. So I'm going to put them, so after the 1, there's this line here. I'm going to put them there so the corner goes in there. But you might want to find somewhere that's a bit, you know, maybe more obvious so that you can lay them all the same each time. Now, if I am to find a cutting pad, am I going to use this nice pristine cutting pad? Yes, I am. So let's use this classic Big Shot machine here. I'm going to pull this up. So we already have one cutting pad laid on there. I'm going to swap it with this one because we're going to work. Let's bring this into the middle. Off my cutting pad. I'm going to work kind of with the die facing up, and my card has been stuck down onto the sticky grid over the card. Now, I will die cut this. So it might cut the sticky grid, but it's not going to matter because it's not going to peel off there. I just need to prise this off. Sometimes you do need the help of your die pick to take some of these bits off. So I'm just going to prise up the corner there, and then slowly we'll peel this off. I don't want to tear it because obviously this is going to be the aperture that I'm using in this technique. So I'll just peel that off, and then that's great. We're not getting kind of sticky residue on our die cut pieces or anything like that. So I'm going to leave this to one side. Now I am going to pry out the heart, and I can just put that to one side for use later. Now, here is the clever part. I can then inlay another concentric heart, so getting smaller each time, that I want to cut out of my next sheet, so that I know when I overlap these two sheets of cardstock, these heart cutouts are going to overlap as well, creating a kind of box frame. So now that I've laid that in there, I'm going to take the previous die cut piece off. And then again, I'm going to lay it in the same place. Now this is where it's important that I've pre-cut these pieces of card to be the same size. So let's feed this through the die cutter again. Here we go. So you will find it's a little bit kind of sticky on there, but we're not left with any residue, which is really nice. Again, just pry that up. Careful not to tear it. Now even if it comes off the cutting pad, if it doesn't all come off, then it's going to be easy to just get it back in exactly the same place there. And it doesn't really matter because we've got the grid on there as well. But what you'll notice now is that when these two pieces of card are together, they're going to be perfectly angled over one another like this. Now that might not look much at the minute, but if I were to carry on like I did previously, we're going to end up with something like this. And this was just something I made really quickly, but the whole feature of this is that we've got those concentric hearts, creating depth in the card, creating that shadow box technique, letting the light play over it. It's just a really lovely technique, and this has just been made possible with those sticky grid sheets. So that's just one way to use it. Now, you can actually get multiple uses out of these sticky grid sheets, because if I am to pry this away, I can carry on using that because the stickiness, it hasn't changed at all. It's still ready to use. Now, the next way I would use these. I'm not going to actually create the make with this because it's really easy for me to just show you exactly how this works. But if I were to lay this down, I don't need to measure where it is or anything like that. And I wanted to create a sentiment. I've got these three letters, and I'm going to have it just say yeah with an exclamation mark. And the reason for that is on my other make it says hey, and I'm using the same letters. But what you're going to notice here is that I am applying these as a mirror image. And that's because when we die cut, it's then going to cut it out the right way. So here, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, and then an exclamation mark here. Now, so I've not taken my time and I've not moved these around, but that's because if I want to just move them around, can you see how easily these are just kind of sliding along there, but they're not moving off this sticky surface here. So with die cut letters, it can be difficult because if you know much about typography, it can be difficult to kind of balance the letters, get the correct spacing between two different letters. A letter like Y takes up a different kind of space than a letter that's kind of rectangular like an E or an H does. So you've got to kind of play about with it to get something that looks really great. And that's where these sticky grids come in really handy. But there we go. If I were to cut this out, we are going to end up with a nice tag with a cutout yeah in it already, which is absolutely brilliant. But I'm going to show you something similar before I cut this out with the actual make that I'm creating. So let's leave this to one side for a second. We'll start this make. Now, I've pre-cut a little sentiment here that just says, "You're awesome." And that's because I love to play about with die cut lettering and different types of fonts and stamps on one sentiment, because I think it just looks really cool. So let's go ahead and start inking this here. So I've come in with some of our Ranger mini inks, which we do have available if you go to the Tim Holtz section of the Sizzix website. So I've just picked a few colours. I just want it to kind of blend from this. This is peacock feathers. Is it peacock feathers or is it broken china? It's peacock feathers. I was right the first time. So I'm just going to come in darker in the corners. And lighter towards that ivory middle of the card. And then I'm going to come in on the other side with some mustard seed. Like so. I just love these colours together. I saw this blend somewhere. I think I was just looking, surfing the web. I saw something that had this kind of colour blend, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to include that in my make. That's the way I love to come up with these different palettes. And then just in the corners, I'm going to take a bit of rusty hinge here, just to soften those edges and distress it a little bit. Kind of creates a nice little sunsetty type look, or maybe a sunrise. And that's going to come in handy in just a little bit. I'm even going to use it on the peacock feathers there. It looks really cool and retro. There we are, look at that blend. I love that, and I'm definitely going to be using it again. I am going to give it a little spray, and we'll just let that water do what it's going to do. And in the meantime, we're going to layer up our letters on this sticky grid. So this time it's going to say hey. So we'll go backwards. I'm going to start here. I'm going to use the grids on the sticky sheet just to layer it up. And the sentiment is going to read, "Hey, you're awesome." And then a card like this, when it's a kind of generic sentiment like that, you could save it and then just give it to, because that could be a Valentine's card, it could be a birthday card, it could just be a card if you fancied sending a card to a loved one. Why not? So hey, and you'll notice I've put it backwards there. Trying really hard, because so I've got Pete Hughes on the camera, and I know that he is a stickler for correct layout and typography and things like that, so hopefully I've done him absolutely proud, and he's probably welling up with that. Hooray! There we go. So bring on my big shot machine, and now so we can use these measurements to kind of get a rough idea of where I've put that hay, because I want to know where I'm putting it. But what I've done is I've just marked the very top corner, or bottom corner should I say, of the end of the sentiment there. So I know where my sentiment is, I know where that is. I'm going to come in from the side, and it doesn't really matter too much because I just want to make sure that it's all parallel, it's all straight. And then let's just wind that through. Let's have a look. Now I can be careful when I'm, do you know what, I'll take the sticky grid off first and then I can kind of peel it away. And that's going to take the letters with it as well, which is handy. I don't need my die pick for this. And there we are, so we're not getting, there's no residue on that, there's nothing, but just look at that sentiment. Okay, so all that's left to do, just to finish this make off. So I've taken some Tim Holtz, this is just a lovely little Tim Holtz finding that I just found, it's a finding and I found it, of what looks like a swift or a swallow. I'm just going to use a bit of hot glue to add that on. About here. I think it'll be nice if it's kind of maybe poking off the edge just a little bit. Then I open a brand new roll of foam tape. Just going to apply some of this to the back, but just each corner. I love the fact that you can just tear this foam tape. It just creates ease of use. And then we'll peel off the back there. And then we are ready to apply to, and I've chosen, because I was thinking about, well, just need to reattach that. Maybe didn't put enough hot glue on. There you go. That's reattached. I've chosen some of the charcoal. This is the pearlescent card from the charcoal opulent pack. And I chose this because it's going to look really nice when it comes through that sentiment. But look at that. And just to finish that off, I'm going to apply just one of these little clips, also from the Tim Holtz little findings. And then that's ready to just, I'm going to use hot glue again, just for ease. And I'm going to stick it at a nice diagonal angle, just to look like that's just been put on the front there. And how about that? I love that. So we've got the dimension that's been created by cutting out the aperture of the letters there. We have the opulent card showing through, and as we're moving it about, you might just see some of that pearlescence in the cardstock. And just look how straight and well spaced the letters are. I say well spaced. Yeah, I quite like the way they're spaced. And that's all been made easy using these fantastic Tim Holtz Sticky Grid sheets. So, I hope that has given you some really great ideas for using the sticky sheets. I would love to see what you guys at home do with the sheets yourselves. Maybe send a picture over in the comments. Have a look on the Sizzix website for more inspiration. Have a look at some of our blogs maybe, some of our vlogs that will be coming out. And yeah, we just really love to hear from you. So thank you for watching, and I will